I never thought I'd be the type of guy to tell ghost stories. I've always been a practical man. I sweep floors, empty trash, mop hallways. That's what I do. I'm a janitor, night shift, at the county morgue just outside of Atmore, Alabama. The building is old. Built in the 60s, maybe earlier. You can feel it in the walls, in the way the pipes rattle when it gets cold, or how the lights flicker just a little too often. You get used to it being here alone most nights. It's quiet work. Peaceful even. Until it isn't. This happened last summer. We had a house fire out on County Road 15. Some old farmhouse, middle of nowhere. I remember because the smoke was still thick in the air when the fire crew rolled the old man's body into the morgue. I never saw the place myself, but the EMTs talked about it, said he was found curled up in a corner, half burned but still intact. No ID on him, no family came forward. Just some old recluse, they said. Lived alone for years. He was brought in around 2 a.m. I was in the supply closet restocking paper towels when they wheeled him past. I didn't get a good look at him, just a glimpse of his feet, blackened from the fire, stiff like boards. The tech on duty, Lacey, signed him in, tagged him, and slid him into drawer 3. I figured that'd be the last I'd hear about it. I clocked in the next night like usual. Graveyard shift. 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The techs left around midnight and I started my rounds. The place gets real still after hours. Just the sound of the floor buffer, the occasional hum from the cooling units. It must have been close to 2:30 when I heard the noise. I was down the hall near the autopsy bay when there was this loud metallic bang. Not just a little clatter, like something heavy slammed against metal. It echoed through the whole basement. I froze, turned off the buffer, and just stood there listening. Silence. At first I thought maybe something had fallen, a tool tray maybe. But the sound, it had come from the cold room. Where we keep the bodies. I've worked here nearly 6 years. I know that sound. It was a drawer slamming shut. Or open. I grabbed my flashlight, headed back toward the cooler. The door was closed, same as always. I took a deep breath and opened it. The cold hit me first like walking into a freezer. There were 3 bodies in there that night. One was a heart attack case from earlier in the day. Another was an overdose from the weekend. And the third was the old man from the fire. Drawer 3. And it was open. Wide open. The tray was fully extended and the old man's body was sitting up. Not just a little twitch or a shift. No. He was upright, back straight, eyes open, looking out at the room. I didn't scream. I didn't run. I just froze. Staring. He looked right at me. I swear it. His head was tilted slightly like he was studying me. His eyes were glassy and gray, and his mouth was slightly open as if caught mid-breath. Then, slowly like he was being lowered by a string, his body slumped backward. Not all the way down, just enough that he was no longer sitting up. It was like he gave up or whatever had pulled him up had let go. I don't know how long I stood there. Eventually, I backed out of the cooler, shut the door, and went straight to the security desk. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't about to call the police and say, "Hey, the dead guy sat up." They'd laugh me off the phone. So I called Lacey, the tech who was on duty when he was brought in. She didn't seem surprised. Not in the way I expected. "That's probably just rigor mortis," she said. "Happens sometimes with fire victims. Muscles contract as they cool. Could have made him sit up. Could have been pressure buildup." "But he looked at me," I said. He turned his head. There was a pause on the line. A long one. "I'm sure it just felt that way," she said finally. "It can mess with your head, especially on long nights." I wanted to believe her. I really did. I hung up, told myself it was just my mind playing tricks. Maybe I'd been working too many nights in a row. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe the drawer wasn't fully latched. But I couldn't shake the feeling. The next night I almost didn't go back. But bills don't pay themselves. So I showed up, same time as always. Everything was normal. The drawers were shut. No strange noises. I kept my head down and tried to avoid thinking about it. Then around 3 a.m. the lights flickered. Just once. Then I heard the cooler door creak. It wasn't loud, just enough to make me stop moving. I was mopping near the main hallway. I turned off the mop motor and listened. Another creak. Then a thud. Like something hitting the tile. I walked slowly toward the cooler, every step heavy. When I turned the corner, the door was slightly open. Inside it was pitch black. I raised my flashlight, but the beam was shaky. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. I pushed the door the rest of the way open. The cold air rolled out like fog. And there he was. The old man was lying on the floor. Not in the tray. Not near it. Right in the center of the room. I stared in disbelief. He was flat on his back, arms stiff at his sides, head cocked toward the door, toward me. I took one step in. That's when I noticed something else. The drawer was still closed. All of them were. There was no way he could have fallen out. Something, or someone, had moved him. I backed out of the room and called the sheriff's office. This time I didn't care how I sounded. I told them someone had broken into the morgue, that a body had been moved. I didn't mention the rest. They came within 15 minutes. 2 deputies searched the building, checked the cameras. Nothing. The cooler footage cut out for 3 minutes right before I found the body on the floor. The techs claimed it was a power surge. Happens sometimes. They put the old man back in the drawer, labeled him contaminated case and sealed the tray. They told me I could take a few days off if I wanted. I did. When I came back, drawer 3 was empty. They said the old man had been claimed by a distant cousin out in Mississippi and was sent for burial. No one gave a name. No one gave a number. Just that he was taken care of. But here's what sticks with me. 2 weeks later, I was in the break room flipping through the local paper. Buried in the obituaries was a tiny write-up. No name, no photo. Just unidentified male, believed to be in his late 70s, found deceased after a structure fire. Buried at county expense at Pine Hollow Cemetery. I decided to visit the cemetery. It's about 10 miles outside of town. Small. Quiet. I found the grave. No headstone. Just a wooden marker with John Doe July 2024, scrawled in black marker. I stood there for a while, unsure why I came. But as I turned to leave, I noticed something. The soil around the grave looked disturbed. Fresh. Like someone had been digging. Or crawling out. It was a rainy Thursday morning in Lane County, Oregon. The kind of day where the clouds feel too heavy for the sky, and the rain isn't coming down hard, but steady enough to make the whole world feel waterlogged. I'd been working at the county morgue for almost 6 years, mostly on the administrative side. Intake, ID checks, paperwork with funeral homes. It wasn't exciting, but it paid well, and after a while you don't actually think of the bodies in the drawers as human. They're just jobs. Labels. The day started like any other. I was sitting at the plexiglass intake window, sipping cold coffee and reading over a funeral home delivery manifest when he walked up. He looked to be in his late 50s. Tall, a little weathered. He wore a dark jacket with a laminated ID clipped to the collar. Harper & Sons Mortuary. He walked like someone who'd done this 100 times. Calm, focused, businesslike. "Morning," he said. "I'm here to pick up a body. Name's William Harper." That was the last name I'd heard, but not initially. I'd dealt with 3 fire fatalities during the week, and the name Harper had lodged itself in my mind as one of them. I figured he must be the brother picking up the remains. "Sure," I said to him, reaching for the paperwork. "Do you have the release form and ID?" He handed me a clipboard with the standard DC's 14 release and photo ID in his name, William R. Harper. I took a glance at it. Everything okay. No warning signs. I instructed him to wait while I checked the tag. I buzzed back into the cooler and pulled the file. Drawer 3B. That's where the tagged William Harper body was stored. As procedure, I read the barcode. The machine chirped. Match found. Cause of death: extreme smoke inhalation and burn trauma. The fire had occurred 2 days earlier in Florence, Oregon. We'd received the body Tuesday evening. All checked out. Except. I gazed down at the face on the gurney. Even though the burns had obscured most of the facial features, there was enough left. The jaw. The nose shape. The forehead. And it looked, horribly, like the man waiting in the waiting room. I suppressed it. It wasn't the first time I'd ever seen family members bear a resemblance that was haunting. Genetics, I told myself. I rolled the gurney back into the drawer and returned to the front. "Hold on. My supervisor needs to sign off," I told him. He nodded, uttered nothing. I walked back to the back room and spotted Ron, our supervisor. I handed him the clipboard and told him, "It's a Harper & Sons pickup. Florence fire victim. William Harper." Ron read the sheet of paper, then hesitated. "Wait," he spoke slowly, "William Harper?" "Yeah." He looked at me, then at the clipboard again. "I signed off on William Harper's embalming report yesterday. He's still here. Drawer 3B. "I know," I replied. "But the guy outside, he's William Harper too. Same name, same ID. Claims he's here to retrieve his brother." Ron didn't say anything for a second. Then he stood up and accompanied me back towards the front. The man was still there. standing in the doorway, hands together, calm as always. Ron approached him. "Excuse me," he said. "You said your name is William Harper?" "Yes," the man replied. "Here to collect my brother's remains." Ron looked at him sternly. "You said your brother?" "That's right." Ron looked at me and mouthing, "That's him." I got a chill I couldn't get over. Ron apologized and followed me back into the office. He closed the door behind us. "That's the same man," he whispered. "That's William Harper. That's the body we received Tuesday. I remember the intake myself. The Florence house fire. He was identified at the scene by dental records. That's him." I couldn't get over what I was hearing. "But he's right there," I said to her. "I know. And if we both lost our minds, he signed a release form. That signature looks perfect. Same handwriting as on his driver's license." I called Harper and Sons. The voice on the phone sounded like it had been up all night. "Hello, I'm calling from the office of Lane County Me. I have a gentleman here who indicates he is William Harper from your facility, picking up the remains of his brother, William Harper." There was a pause on the other end. "No. William Harper is the deceased one. We released him Tuesday. Died in a house fire. We don't have anyone coming to pick him up until Saturday." I looked over at Ron. "Thanks," I said to him and hung up. We went outside. He was nowhere around. No sound. No door open. No car racing off. He just wasn't there any longer. We combed the lobby, the hall, even the break room. I ran out into the parking lot. Empty. Ron played back the security tape. The man enters. Shows the ID card. Hovers by the counter. But no video of him departing. None at all. We played it back a dozen times. Came in. Never went out. No one ever reported his presence again. We still had his paperwork. His signature. His photo ID. And the body? Still there. Still in drawer 3B. Still William Harper. No one ever came to pick it up. That was over a year ago. I don't work at the morgue anymore. I quit 2 months after. Couldn't handle what my brain was trying to tell me. No revelation. No surprise. No confession or joke or breakdown. A man came to retrieve his own body. And disappeared. I've told my friends this. Most of them don't know what to make of it. Some even think I'm lying, and I have to admit I wish that this were a lie. But I can still see him hanging about the door. Familiar. Like he'd done it before. And sometimes every now and then I see the same face in the crowd. On the bus. At the supermarket. It always vanishes before I can pursue. But for an instant, it's as if he never departed. As if he remains waiting. For someone to go pick up the corpse. I worked the front desk at the county medical examiner's office in Kansas City. It was a quiet enough job most nights. Phones didn't ring after 10, and most of the calls we did receive were just notifications, hospital reports, nursing homes arranging pickup, or the police calling to let us know that a case was on its way in. It was tidy, cold, a bit sad, but not frightening. Not, that is, until the night Ray Garland disappeared. Ray was a subcontract van driver. Not actually working for the county, but contracted through a third-party company that dealt with body transport. Whenever they had someone die at a hospital or nursing home, they'd call in the transport vehicle. Ray wasn't a rookie. He'd been doing the job for 4 years, quiet guy, mid-40s, no family that we knew of. He liked his coffee burnt and black. Drove one of those white Ford Morgue vans with the worn blue county sticker on the side. The evening he disappeared, it began with a routine pickup. There was a call from a nursing home in Independence a little after 9 p.m. An 82-year-old woman died in her sleep. Her daughter called to request a pickup that evening. Ray received the call at 9:20. I recall because I signed his name in the log. He took the radio job at 9:23. And then, nothing. That wasn't unusual in and of itself. We weren't micromanaging drivers. We only called in if one of the drivers was late getting the body to the receiving location or if the receiving crew had questions. But at 3 a.m., the receiving morgue downtown in Kansas City called and wanted to know why the nursing home pickup hadn't arrived. That's when we pulled out the GPS tracker. The van had departed from the nursing home at 9:51 p.m. and afterward, around 10:20 p.m., pulled along Old State Route 78, a generally vacant service road that slices through a section of backwoods and industrial trash lots. The van remained there momentarily. 6 hours. No movement. Simply sitting there inactive until the GPS signal was lost at 4:12 a.m. I recall gazing at the screen expecting it to refresh. hoping that perhaps he had lost signal. Perhaps GPS was out of commission. But it simply remained blank. We called the police at about 5 a.m. They told us they would send a patrol car to check the road. That was on Friday morning. Sunday passed with no word from Ray. They did find the van, however. It was parked in the gravel parking lot in back of a rundown Baptist church on the south side of town. The engine had stopped. Keys were missing. Doors were locked. The rear door, the one to the body compartment, was closed but not locked. Inside, the body was still present, zipped in a black nylon transport bag, just as the nursing home had delivered her. She hadn't been disturbed as far as anyone could say. But Ray had vanished. No blood. No drag marks. No struggle signs. His phone wasn't in the van. His badge, his clipboard, even his wallet, all were in the driver's side door pocket. A steaming hot cup of gas station coffee was in the cup holder. Still full. However, the chair was vacant. We viewed the tape from the security camera at the church. They only had one camera trained on the front of the building. You could barely glimpse the edge of the lot. The van pulled in on the east side around 4 a.m. lights on. It drove around to the back of the building and parked. Then, after a moment or so, the headlights went out. That was it. Nobody came. Nobody walked up. Nothing else was caught on film. The video wasn't corrupted. Just incomplete. Ray never again used his bank card. His phone never again rang out to a tower. He was simply gone. You'd think that was the end of it. But 2 weeks later, I received a call. It was a woman. Said she worked at a funeral home in Excelsior Springs. Claimed someone came by asking about cremation paperwork. Gave a name, Ray Garland. Showed a copy of a driver's license. Said he worked at the county morgue and needed rush release documents for a client. She didn't think twice, handed him a form. But then, when she checked his ID, she found Ray Garland was a missing person. Security cameras spotted a guy, perhaps Ray, perhaps not, in sunglasses and a ball cap. Seemed to have lost weight from when I last recalled him. Limped as he walked. That footage too proved nothing. And when they forwarded it to the police, the technical experts informed them that the face had been concealed by a reflection off the glass door. What I remember best of all, though, was what ensued afterward. It was one night, perhaps a month after all of this, I was on the late shift by myself. No calls. No deliveries pending. I was typing paperwork, checking form logs, just attempting to remain awake. The front lobby is metal chairs and glass and tile. The sounds carry strangely in that building. You hear a knock at one end, it sounds like it's right in back of you. At 2:17 a.m. a knock came. Not on the front door but on the window of the viewing room. The viewing room is where bodies are identified by families if needed. It's locked except when being used. I went along the hall, thinking perhaps maintenance came early, or someone had the incorrect office. However, when she opened the door to the viewing room, it was vacant. No one in the hall. No one outside. I watched the security feed. The security camera covering that wing had gone black at exactly 2:17. It came back on at 2:19. That never happened before. Later that week, one of our new drivers swore he saw somebody out on the perimeter of the loading dock late one night on a 3 a.m. drop. Said the person was in a blue coat and looked like a member of the transport company. When he called out, the individual turned around and vanished behind the dumpsters. He looked, of course. Nobody was there. No footprints. No coat. That driver quit the following day. I catch myself asking myself if Ray ever exited the van. Perhaps whatever took place on that dirt road, those 6 absent hours, was not a breakdown or a detour. Perhaps somebody got into the van. Or perhaps Ray let them in. We found scratches on the inside of the cargo door, faint, hardly noticeable unless the light hit them just right. They did not belong to the cadaver. The corpse was zipped up, unopened. The scratches looked more like fingernails, someone trying to get out. But from the inside of the driver's bay. As though Ray had tried to claw his way out of something he could not see. The case file is closed now. Officially unsolved. Disappearance during transit, suspected foul play. His body never recovered. But when I'm working the late shift and I hear a creak in the loading dock, I wonder, was it just the van idling on an empty road? Or did something else sneak in while the rest of us slept?